ensure we dot the I's and cross the T's, making sure every decision they take leads them towards their dreams of studying, staying, and working abroad. Our process is straightforward and transparent. From choosing the right school and course to accessing our study loans and navigating the visa process, we ensure our candidates are well prepared before embarking on their visa interviews or starting their study permit applications.
Understanding the importance of transparency in our process, which is something many of our candidates can testify to. Once a candidate fills out the form on our website and joins our Study Abroad Academy, we host a virtual onboarding session. Now, this session is the first step towards understanding our clients' needs and recommending suitable courses that are STEM or business designated. Now, these courses guarantees a postgraduate work permit and helps candidates secure a high-paying job, considering the fact that they are commercially relevant and viable fields. We also conduct a detailed analysis of each candidate's background, including their first degree and their CGPA. Based on this, we recommend a suitable course of study, a school for their MSc, and a country they should apply to.
To streamline the process and ensure candidates are supported, we assign a manager to each candidate during the onboarding session. Our managers are professionals, well-trained, and are committed to offering the best advice. They guide candidates throughout the application process, reducing the stress and the time required to research and apply to schools. They also ensure candidates avoid mistakes and assist in following up with schools on their behalf.
Once a candidate gains admission into a university that will support offering a STEM or business designated course, they proceed to the loan application stage. Loan approval depends on how quickly a candidate's loan is reviewed. This could take a day, a week, or a month. We approve up to $100,000 for a 2-year course. Funds are disbursed directly to the candidate's school after visa approval and certification by the school. Candidates will access these funds when they resume on campus. In the first year, up to $50,000 is disbursed, with an additional amount of up to $50,000 available in the second year upon the candidate's request. Candidates also have the flexibility to determine the amounts they receive based on their cost of attendance and living expenses.
The visa process is one of the most critical and final stages of the journey. We understand that the visa application process can be daunting and complex. Many people wonder why their visa applications are denied, either US or Canada, and it often comes down to how prepared and knowledgeable they are before starting the process. We organize a 1-month mock visa interview session for our candidates, where we provide personalized mentoring and guidance. These mock sessions goes beyond mere paperwork assistance. We empower candidates with the knowledge and confidence they need to succeed. Every candidate story is unique. You can't rely solely on what you see or learn online to prepare for your visa interview. We've cracked the code and we know what works, whether you're applying for a study permit to Canada, the US, or any other country we support.
At Career Leap, we focus on individuals passionate about gaining
We can't hear you, please. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you now.
All right, thank you very much, everyone, for joining tonight's session. Kindly confirm if you can hear me. Confirm if you can hear me. Welcome, everyone. Wherever you're connecting from, Delta State, Lagos, Abuja, Ghana, Kenya, wherever you're connecting from. If you can hear me, just use the comment section and just say, yes, you can hear me very well. Thank you so much for joining. Once again, you're welcome to tonight's session. So wherever you're connecting from, please kindly drop the comments, drop where you're connecting from in the comment section. Tonight's session is going to be fantastic. It's going to be very eye-opening. You're going to enjoy and learn a lot. Please, if you can hear me, just state where you're connecting from in the comment section. You're connecting from Lagos, you're connecting from Abuja, connecting from Ghana, you're connecting from Kenya, wherever you're connecting from, just drop your location. You're welcome to this session. All right, you're welcome to this session. You're connecting from Benin. I can see Famous is from Benin. Hi, Famous. How you doing? Adeoshun. Welcome, Stephanie from Lagos. Manu can hear me very well. Harry, or is that Envy? Yeah, from Lagos. Ifoma from Lagos. Samuel from Ibadan. Yes, Steve from Lagos. Adesina from Ibadan, you're welcome. You're welcome to tonight's session. Tonight is going to be very, very mind-blowing. A lot is going to be explained. Some of the things you're like, oh, you don't understand, or you're finding difficult to understand, going to be broken down in today's or tonight's session. All right, you're all welcome to tonight's session. So let's move on. Let's get started. So I don't waste your time. Let's get started. Let's get started. All right. So tonight, right, we're going to learn about the two types of applicants when it comes to Canada. The first type of applicants are people or individuals that are actually prepared, right? They are prepared to study in Canada. Why the other type of individuals are people that just want to study in Canada? Because today we are discussing how to secure a study permit, right? A Canadian study permit, and also access up to 100,000 in educational funding. And I'm going to start with how you can actually secure the study permit. And it all starts from being structured. We're going to learn what Canada wants. We're going to learn how you can actually, learn the structure, the skills, the strategy you should and you must employ when it comes to, securing your study permit. And one thing about the strongest applicants, what they practically do is that they plan well, they are consistent in their story, they have clarity, and everything they are presenting is in alignment. And I'm going to be explaining a lot about that. So let's start with number one. Let's talk about the brutal truth about applying, particularly Nigerians applying to Canada. So let me share my screen. Let's talk about the brutal truth about applying to Canada as a Nigerian. Okay, what are those brutal truths we need to know about? Okay, number one, the brutal truth about Nigeria application. Okay, so what an officer, or when an officer opens a Nigerian file, they look into patterns. Okay, because we understand that studying abroad means that you want to excel in your career. You want to grow your career. You want to grow your finances. That is particularly one of the reasons you want to leave your own country to study in Canada. And you and I know that the reason you are going to study in Canada is not to say, oh, I'm going to Canada and I'm going to come back to my own country. That isn't the case. The thing about you is the fact that you want to get to Canada, and once you're done studying, you want to get permanent residency in Canada, right? But the thing about the immigration officers, what they practically look out for, particularly Nigerians, is patterns. So when an officer opens a Nigerian file, the first thing they look at are those patterns, which I'm going to explain. And those patterns, some of them are red flags, okay? Some of them are red flags. They are practically what? Red flags. So what are those patterns? What are those patterns or those red flags that immigration officer look at. Number one, they look at economic instability at home. The immigration officer understands that, yes, in Nigeria or Africa, there is practically economic instability. So that means that a lot of people will most likely want to come to Canada. Okay? A lot of people want to leave their own country. Give me a minute. Leave their own country to come to Canada. Kindly mute your mic, please. All right. So a lot of people wants to come to Canada because of the economic backwardness of their country, right? Because if your country is doing very well, if your country is doing very fine, you wouldn't want to travel to Canada. But Canada has made it easier for you to reap what you sow. Okay? It has made it easier that it appreciates your talent, it appreciates what you have as an individual. The economic works well, everything works perfectly. I always tell people that, see, if you haven't leave your own country, you would think that everything is working fine for you. Just go to South Africa. If you are in South Africa, you realize that, or you just travel to South Africa, you think you're not in Africa. Just travel to South Africa. You think you're not in Africa. Travel to Morocco. You think you're not in Africa, right? So the thing about exposure is that it gives you an understanding of what you actually deserve. And that is what majority of us are looking forward to acquire when we travel to Canada. All right, when we travel to Canada, Canada has made it very easy. All right, but then the immigration officer understands that the reason you are leaving your own country is because of the economic instability at home. Okay, that's number one reason. Number two reason, when Canada looks at your profile, so you are applying for your study permit, and they look at your profile and they see an unexplained wealth, a sudden unexplained wealth, because at the end of the day, for you to study or travel to Canada, you need to show you have the financial capacity. I always tell people that, see, if you don't have the financial capacity to study in Canada or travel to Canada, you shouldn't be even thinking about this process. And that is where our funding comes to play, which I'm going to explain as we move along. So if you don't have the financial capacity to pay tuition deposits, application fee, biometrics fee, medicals fee, if you don't have the finance to, like, this initial investment in your process, then you shouldn't be thinking about saying you want to study in Canada, right? So in your process of actually applying to study in Canada, number one, you must have the finance. Number two, you must be able to explain effectively how you gain or access that finance, or how you made that particular fund. I'm going to explain that as we move along. So you can't just come to Canada that, oh, I made 100 million, and this 100 million I'm going to use to study in Canada. No, you must explain how that money came about. You've seen people that have over 50, over 100 million in their account, and they still get denied because of what? Story. Okay? Because of what? Story. Number one, I said economic instability. Economic instability, they know that you're leaving your own country to their country because of your earnings. So you need to present yourself as someone that is not desperate. Okay? You need to present to what? Yourself as someone that is not desperate to acquire that citizenship. So in your story, you are not banking on the fact that, oh, you are desperate. And in your explanation of funds or explanation of how you make your money, you are practically giving evidences. You are practically showing processes. You are practically telling stories of how you made your funds. So they are looking at, number one, economic instability at your home. They're looking at sudden and unexplained wealth in your application. They're also looking at what we call cost mismatch. Cost mismatch. For example, you studied agricultural science in your university, and then you want to go study a course that doesn't relate at all. Okay? You want to go study a course that doesn't relate at all to what you agriculture, and you want to go study cybersecurity. Right? You want to go study cybersecurity, or you study something about chemistry, and you want to go study something that's not related to biochemistry at all. That is what we call course mismatch. What you are going for doesn't align with your career progression. So there must be a career progression in your story. So when there's a course mismatch, it means that you are already failing. You are going to be denied because your story does not align. Then aside course mismatch, Canada also look at weak academic continuity. What does this mean? What does weak academic continuity mean? It means that your career structure, the way you structure your career, for example, you studied biochemistry in your first degree. When you graduated, what you are now doing is different from what you studied in your school, because we understand how Africa or Nigeria particularly works. Someone that studied agricultural science, in their first, when they graduate, you see them working in the bank. All right, that is what we call weak academic continuity. We can also classify weak academic continuity as when you have a very low CGPA, like third class. You have third class, right? We can also classify that as weak academic continuity. Weak academic continuity also applies to when your career progression or what you currently do doesn't apply to the course you want to go study. So the immigration officer sees that as a red flag. Okay, they see that as a red flag. So you must be conscious in your course selection. You must be conscious with your story. You must also be conscious with your career progression. Okay. Then another thing they look at is, so give me a minute, let me drink water. Another thing they look at is poor documentation, right? Poor documentation. You have, let's say you have the finance, you have everything, but the way you document your story or the way you tell your story or the evidence you provide are not there. You say you own a business, where are the evidences that portrays or shows that you have this business, right? Where are those evidences? So poor documentation integrity, weak academic continuity, course mismatch, sudden unexplained wealth, and economic instability at home. When you are not able to, explain effectively that you're not desperate to come study in Canada, where you're able to show that you package yourself, you package yourself in a way that you don't smell desperado in you. So when an immigration officer is reviewing your file, the officer subconsciously asks few questions, which I have stated earlier. They ask these questions. So the questions they ask is this person trying to relocate permanently using school as an entry? Okay. Is this person trying to relocate permanently using school as an entry? So that is where you now need to now explain that, see, I'm not coming because of I want to use school as a strategy to gain permanent residency. I want to study and I want to come back to my own country. But like I said earlier, you and I know that is not actually the case. You want to actually go to Canada, you want to stay in Canada, you want to get your PR, but then without shooting yourself, by doing the right thing, by constructing your story right, you will be able to explain to them effectively that you are going to come back while having the goal you already have in mind. Now, here's the key thing you need to know. Wanting better opportunity is not, it's not illegal. It is not illegal to say, oh, you want better opportunities. You want to leave your own country to access massive opportunity. But if your file looks like you are bypassing immigration pathways by disguising intent, then your credibility drops. I've said this before. That means your credibility drops. What does that mean? What I just explained is that if your story does not align perfectly, right, and you are disguising that, oh, you are using study to come to lens, whereas your studying is basically, you wanting to seek permanent residency, then your credibility drops. So you must understand what we call the three hidden pillars. The three hidden pillars. The three hidden pillars are credibility, capacity, and intent, which I am going to explain as we move along. The three hidden pillars: credibility, capacity, and intent. So your job is to show that studying is academically and professionally logical, and it is not based on emotions. You are coming because of you have a logical reason and a professional reason and an academic reason to come to Canada to study. So what are those three pillars? Those three pillars are: number one, credibility, capacity, and intent. So let's start with credibility. Right? Let's start with credibility. Credibility, I will say, is about alignment. Let me explain. If someone studied accounting and has 5 years in banking, then applying for a master's in financial analytics makes sense. Let me repeat that again. Credibility means that if someone studied accounting and has worked 5 years in banking, then applying for a master's in financial analytics practically makes sense. Now, if the same person suddenly decides to apply for culinary arts and with no background in culinary arts, then it creates doubt. Okay, it creates doubt. So let me just quickly put that down. Let me put that down. Put that down. So credibility, like I said, is about alignment. So if someone studied accounting, right? If someone studied accounting and has worked 5 years in banking, applying for masters in financial analytics actually makes sense. But if then you study culinary arts and you don't have any background, that same person study culinary arts with no background, and the person wants to apply for masters in financial analytics, then it becomes dicey. In fact, it creates your credibility was reduced, and that is what we call. Remember, I spoke about weak academic continuity and course mismatch. Remember, we spoke about that, right? We spoke about that. Now, what does credibility include? What does it include? Credibility includes academic history. Okay? Credibility what includes academic what history. And it also includes your work history. It includes age factor. It includes your career trajectory, and it also includes explanation of that progression. Right? It includes what? Explanation of that progression. Now, the officer wants to see evolution. Right? So give me a minute. If you can hear me, just say I in the comment section if you can hear me, or you can do thumbs up. Do thumbs up, do thumbs up. If you can hear me, do thumbs up. Thank you very much. Means we are learning today. Like I said, today is going to be very eye-opening. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, let's get into it. Let's move on. Like I was saying, credibility involves academic history. It involves age factor. How old are you? It involves career trajectory, and also involves explanation of progression. In fact, this explanation of progression is practically more important because your explanation of progression involves your work history, it involves your age factor, it involves your career trajectory. So you practically need to explain this in what we call statement of purpose or statement of intent. Okay? You explain this in your statement of purpose and your statement of intent. Over the years, we have worked with several clients that have successfully secured their study permits and are currently in Canada. And it is this strategy we have used for them. The strategy of understanding their career trajectory. There are some people that don't understand what their career purpose or career mission should be. And when they apply for study permit, there's some sort of mismatch. That's why they wonder, why am I getting denied? Why am I getting denied? You see someone that studied agricultural science and saying that they want to go for nursing. And when they're explaining why they want to go for nursing, they are not able to explain it very well because the story or their career trajectory or the course is actually mismatched. So you must understand that credibility, like I said, includes your work history, your age factor, career trajectory, and inflation of progression. Okay? Now, like I said before, officers want to see what? Evolution, and they want to see they are not random, right? They're not just moving all over the place. They want to see what? Evolution. Now, let's go to capacity. Capacity means capacity in terms of financial and academic readiness, right? When I mean capacity, I mean financials. Like I stated earlier, if you want to study in Canada or even any country at all, you must have the financial capacity to do so. If you don't have the financial capacity to do so, if you have not saved for it, if you have not seen this as an investment, then you shouldn't be proceeding. Because most people, the mistake they make is that, oh, when they see that you should pay a certain amount and they say you should pay a certain amount, you start complaining. You start complaining. When you start complaining, it means that you're not ready. Because this process is all about investment. You are investing in your unborn grandchildren. You are investing in your peace of mind, because one of the reasons people are leaving their own countries because they understand that the system in those countries work. So you must have the capacity. And if you don't have the capacity, to a certain extent, we can actually support you in that capacity. All right? But let's move on. Let's move on. So, financial capacity means that, number one, you must be able to show that you can pay your tuition. Through our funding, we will help you pay your tuition fee. You don't have to pay tuition fee through our funding. Okay? Our funding covers you for 2 years as long as you are going for a STEM program. When I mention STEM program, I mean science, tech, engineering, and mathematics. Okay? Science, tech, engineering, and what? Mathematics. These are courses that can give you leverage. Remember, we mentioned cost, right? The course you are going for. And your cost also relates to your capacity. So you must be able to, pay your tuition, which we are going to fund for you. You must also show that you can support living expenses. Our funding covers living expenses. Okay? Our funding do what? Cover living expenses. But one thing about Canada is that you want to also show you are not reliant on the funding we are providing for you. Once you start showing that you're going to be a liability in Canada by saying, oh, I'm only depending on the finances these people are giving me, then it is a red flag. Okay? So you must show that aside the funding we are providing to ease the stress. In fact, I've seen people that spend 20 million, 30 million, 10 million for studying abroad. But I've seen people that have spent less than 3 million, less than 4 million to study abroad. All our candidates that have practically traveled to study abroad, none of them have actually spent up to 10 million, in fact, they have not spent up to 4 million to study. Why? Because we gave them the financial pathway, we gave them the strategy that has worked, and it will work for you as well. And these are people that listen to advice. They listen to advice, and they take our advice. From economic standpoint, from career trajectory standpoint, from the cost standpoint, and their story standpoint. All right? So, you must, number one, show that you have tuition fee we're going to be helping you with. You can support your living expenses. You can survive without working illegally. You can survive without working illegally. One of the most important things you want to do for yourself as an immigrant, or so as preparing to travel abroad, is to acquire a skill. You need to acquire a skill so you can become, competitive when you get to Canada. I've seen people that always complain that there's no job in Canada. But when you ask them some pertinent questions, you realize that these people don't have the skills There are skills that you don't need to go to university for before you can actually acquire them. I know a couple of guys, in fact, some of them in Nigeria, that are earning up to $5,000, $7,000 per month. This is not, I'm not kidding you. $7,000 per month. Because of what? Their skills. So there are skills like cybersecurity, product management, project management, business analytics, data analytics that are actually in demand in those countries. Now, you learning them before you travel to that country gives you leverage. All right? It gives you leverage to compete. The only people that will not get job are people that are not prepared. Okay? If you are not prepared, then thankfully in Kayari, we have our LEAP School Academy, where we can train you on these skills before you travel abroad. Okay? We train you on these skills. Is a diploma in project management, diploma in product management, diploma in cybersecurity, business analytics, data analytics. So it is very important that you are not going there empty-handed. You must come with value so that when you see jobs, you're not just reliant on what you know. I've seen people that they travel to Canada to study a particular course, but that is not what they, at the end of the day, do as an immigrant in that country. What did they do? It is the skill they acquire before leaving their own country that they use to actually get jobs. In fact, there are people that are in Canada and they are getting gigs from Africa. Why? Because of they have built their capacity, they have built their skill. Another thing you must understand about traveling is that you are building your network. You are what? Building your network. Some of these fintech you see today that are raising billions of dollars. Okay, you see one raising 200 million. Look, for example, MoneyPoint. Look, for example, look at those big platforms. Cheaper Cash. Look at Gray. You see that this set of guys, if you look at the story of these founders, you see that they don't just rose from and they don't give them this funding. It is the network that they have built over time that have actually given them the opportunity that they have. So the question is, are you going there to just go study, or you are going there to build network, or build capacity? You must be prepared. They say opportunities need preparation. So what are you doing now? The next 5 years is what you want to be thinking about. I'm an advocate of the future. I'm an advocate of the future. I always think the next 10 years. I always think the next 5 years. What should I be doing now for me to progress, for me to be at the forefront, or be at the level of people that are actually changing the world? Okay? So you must acquire a skill. Capacity also means that you are not one emergency away from dropping out. You must have the financial capacity, and you must not. There are some people that actually don't have the finance. They go borrow money here and there, and at the end of the day, they are stuck. Right? So you need a leveler, you need a buffer, which is the financing we are providing. So that you don't spend a lot. Like I said, I've seen people that have spent just 3 million, 4 million. And this is not hearsay, this is what we have actually done. And you can reach out to any of our representatives that are going to send you a link of stories, successful stories of candidates that have gone through this process and are currently in Canada. In fact, one of our candidates in the US, if you see this guy have already blown off. Like when I mean blown off, this guy is chic everywhere, he's all weather. That means the guy has facts everywhere because the guy is studying cybersecurity in St. Louis University. And there are several other stories like that. They don't have 4 fingers, they have 5 fingers like you, Ada. They don't have 5 heads, they don't have 10 heads, they're just like you. It all boils down to your story. Your capacity and your credibility matters a lot. Now, what does IRCC require? What does IRCC require? They require your first year tuition, living expenses, minimum requirements, and return transportation to show that you have what? You have the capacity. And there's a lot to also show aside that. Officers also look beyond year 1. If your sponsor or if you're sponsoring yourself earns barely enough, and you want them to pay your tuition fee, so how will you show for the second year of your funding? So what you must do is that if you don't have enough funds, is that you are going through our funding process and also attaching the little you have. Like I said, with 3 million, with 4 million, you should be successful in this process. Okay? So you must show your first year tuition, living expenses, and return transportation to show capacity as well. So if you must be showing a 1-year tuition, you must also show that you have the finance to for next year. One of the mistakes most people do is that they only show for 1 year, which doesn't work. Showing for 1 year doesn't work. They will assume that you don't have money to study. Okay? Now, another thing you need to know about capacity is the academic capacity. The academic what? Capacity. I will take the last part again. I mean that, let me take the last part again. I meant that you don't show just your first year tuition or show just your first year living expenses. Normally, the IRCC will say in their website that, oh, show just 1 year of your living expenses. But don't fall to that. Show that you have buffers. Show that you come prepared, because there are other people competing for the same slot as you. You need to show that you have the first year, you have the second year finances to back you up, plus your story on how you get to make that money. And which is why we are here at Career will help you look at your story, understand where you are coming from, because every story is unique. Okay, every story is unique. You can't just use another story or a story you heard online and be like, oh, this guy used the same pattern, so I'm going to use the same pattern for myself. It doesn't work that way. You must understand that your story is different from any other story. Okay, and the way you tell it is different from any other way other persons or other person will tell their story. So let's look at academic capacity. Academic capacity, you must meet programs requirements. Number 2, you must also have good grades, sufficient grades. One thing about Canada is that they are big on grades. They are big on grades. But one thing you need to understand that we have done for you is that there are schools that actually accept, schools to support that actually accept low tutu. Right? Schools, if you have low tutu, there are schools we support that actually accept those particular grades. Okay? So, as I was saying, you must have good grades, and you must also have good English, like your IELTS. But then, for the fact that you are from a speaking English country and the schools you support doesn't require you to write IELTS, then you don't need to, write IELTS. Okay? You don't need to do that. Now, let's look at the third one. Remember, I mentioned the 3 pillars. Number 1 pillar is credibility. Number 2 pillar is capacity. Then, number 3 is intent. And I mentioned in credibility, spoke about work history. What is your work history like? Is there a career progression? Your age factor, career trajectory, and your explanation of those progressions. Let's talk about capacity. Capacity in terms of, do you have the financial capacity or the academic capacity? Okay? Now let's look at intent. Intent is very important. Okay? Intent is very, very important. Now, what does intent mean? Right? A lot of people misunderstand intent. Okay? And it is one of the most misunderstood factors. So, under Canadian immigration law, an applicant must satisfy the officer that they will leave Canada at the end of their authorized stay. Okay? An applicant must what? Must satisfy the officer that they will leave Canada at the end of their authorized stay. If you like, have $1 million in your account, $1 million in your account. If you don't satisfy the officer that you are going to leave Canada, right? Once you are done with your study, then they won't approve you. Like I said before, we already know the case. You don't want to come back. But you need to put your best foot forward so they don't see that, okay, this person is going to stay back in our country. So putting your best foot forward, and you need to understand what we call ties. We have what we call economic ties, right? And family ties. Economic ties. Economic ties. Then Even family ties is that this person has family, this person have kids, this person have this, this person have that. They will definitely not come back home to come study. So intent matters. There are several people to the officer that you are going to come back home, but then it all boils down to your story. Like I said, everybody's stories are not the same. Mr. Michael's story can be different from every story. Manu's story can be different from additional stories. So you must understand that story, the way you tell your story, matter. So like I said, under immigration law, an applicant must satisfy the officer that they will leave Canada at the end of their authorized stay. And this is where most Nigerians struggle. And this is where practically they struggle, because if you don't show that you're going to, come back, then it's a denial. Okay, it's a denial. So what does this mean is that you must respect the visa condition. Okay, you must what? Respect the visa condition, meaning that you must demonstrate that you're going to come back. You must also maintain status. Maintaining status means that you must maintain the status you used to come to that country. All right, you must maintain what? The status you used to come to that country. That's why we always advise candidates that don't apply for courses that are not in demand, or courses that will not give you postgraduate work permits, right? Don't apply for courses like this. Apply for courses like that limits your options. In fact, once you apply for courses like that, you are coming back to your home country once you're done studying. And also, you need to understand that if your SOP screens permanent migration, let's say, which is what we call statement of intent. Your statement of intent is what practically explains your intent. Right? It is what practically explains your intent. So your statement of intent must not so. I think I lost you off for some minute. So I'm just going to repeat again. So you must show capacity, right? You must show capacity, you must show good intent, and you must also show credibility. And I've explained what credibility means. And intent is practically what you demonstrate in your SOI or your SOP. So let me move on. Now let's talk about financial psychology of an officer. The financial psychology of an officer. Remember, the topic for today is how to secure a Canadian study permit and 100K educational funding in 2026. And this, I'm speaking from the aspect of what we have done for other candidates, what I've experienced, and what you can also do when it comes to yours, and what Career Leap can do for you. Now, what is the financial psychology of an officer? Now, one thing you need to understand is that officers do not check balances. What they do is that they analyze patterns. Now, I'm revealing this secret to you guys. It's a secret that nobody will reveal to you. Okay? You see most people, after spending millions, they come back and be like, oh, I've wasted money. Why? Because they don't understand things like this. So, officers do not just check balances. They analyze pattern. And what do I mean by analyzing pattern? Consistent account activity over 6 months. That's number one. So that means you need to show what we call example of a strong financial profile. Let's use the word example of a strong financial profile. Example of a strong financial profile. Number one, consistent account activity over 6 months. So you need to show that, because like I said, coming to Canada doesn't mean that even if I'm going to be giving you the funding, doesn't mean you should not show your own fund. You should show your own fund because you can't rely on that. And remember, you must show to the immigration officer that you will come back to your own country once you're done. So then you need to show financial capacity. All right, that you package yourself as someone that is not desperate. You package yourself as someone that is well-to-do, someone that is doing very well in their own country, but they just want to seek a more progressive, or they want to grow or expand in their career. Okay. Then you must also show income trail that matches your deposit. These are the things we help our candidates do. Okay. You must show income trail that matches deposits. Right? These are technical terms. Then you must also show documents that matches turnover, right? These are something we do for our clients. We have a session with you and we communicate how we can actually do that for you. Then we also show clear tax compliance. However, this clear tax compliance is not really relevant. But then if you have that, it's also good, right? So to demonstrate strong financial capacity, you must show consistent account activity over 6 months. Your income trail must match your deposit. Your business documents must match. You must have a clear tax compliance. Okay, moving on. Example of weak profile. Okay, you have that. Let's say, for example, for those that use this pattern where a lien is placed into your account, you see someone send a particular bank send 35 million into your account. All right, that is wrong. You can't just have someone send 35 million into your account because you want to use it for proof of funds. You've seen people that actually pay a lot of money to maintain their account for up to 6 months, and it costs them a lot. Okay, it costs them a lot. And when Canada sees this, they assume that, oh, this person is borrowing money to, you know, for their POF or for their proof of funds. So 35 million deposit in 10 days before application. They must not see 35 million worth deposit in your account before was application. Then you have no business registration, no salary history, no explanation of how your story came to be about. So what IRCC is concerned about is borrowed funds that must be repaid immediately. Right? They are concerned once they notice that you borrowed a fund from a bank and they place a lien because of the way the money came in so sudden, unexplained fund, it came in so sudden. If they look into that, then you'll be denied. Funds are not truly available. What does this mean? It means that those money you borrowed from a bank to show as a proof of funds, those funds are not already available because once that process is done, the bank will collect their money back. So when they notice this, they feel like, oh, this one is a red flag. Then you also face money laundering risk because it's also kind of like money laundering, right? Because the money is in your account and the way you did it was shady. You did not do it in a way that doesn't seem like it is shady. Money just came to your account. So they look into that. And then no explanation. I'm just going to paste this and put it there. Right? No explanation. Right? These are examples of weak profiles. Weak profile. You have the 5 million deposited in account 10 days before your application started. You don't have no business registration, no salary history, and no explanation of what about on how you make that particular amount or make that particular form. Those are weak explanations. And like I said, they are concerned about how that money came about, if that money truly available, are you doing money laundering? Is your finance actually sustainable or stable? Okay, that is what they are looking for. So Canada wants assurance, right? They want to know that you will not become financially vulnerable and breach their visa conditions. Okay, that's why our funding, when we give you funding, we are not giving you funding for just funding's sake. Right? Some of our candidates, when we give them, say we give you the first year, we give you $50,000. Okay, the first year we give you $50,000, and the first $25,000 out of that $50,000 is for your tuition fee, cost of living, and some other expenses. Right? The remaining $25,000 you can use it however you want. Okay, because let's say, for example, your tuition fee for the first year is $50,000. Right? Now, what schools in Canada do is that you don't pay for 2 years. So the first year you pay half of that amount. Okay, you pay $25,000 the first year. All right, the remaining $25,000 is yours. You can use it however you want to use it. If $50,000 is disbursed to you the first year, another $50,000 will be disbursed to you the following year, making it was $100,000. We disbursed $100,000 as the maximum, right? $100,000 as the maximum for 2 years, $50,000 as the maximum for 1 year, and $2,000 as the minimum, okay, that we disburse. Okay, your $50,000 covers everything for the first year. It covers your tuition, covers your cost of living. If your tuition fee is $50,000 for the 2 years, you pay $25,000 for the first year. The remaining $25,000, you can use it however you want to use it. And we see candidates that actually take this money and save it for the next academic session, so they don't get to collect another funding. All right, they don't get to collect another funding. So it is something you want to do. And again, like I said earlier, you must not rely on just the skill you have. You must understand how to upskill. You must upskill yourself. All right, you must upskill yourself so you can start getting remote jobs. You must assess network. There's one of our candidates that is currently the team lead of immigrants in his school. His name is Daniel. He's currently the team lead in his school of immigrants. This is someone that traveled about 2 years ago. Is it? I think 2023. Traveled 2023, late 2023. Now he's now leading other immigrants like himself, particularly from Nigeria. All right. So you must be able to prove that you have the capacity. Okay. So we are going to also provide you the funding to show that you have the capacity, but then you must also come prepared. You must also learn how to build your own income. There are 3 ways you can actually pay back our funding. There are 3 ways you can actually pay it back. Number 1, you can pay it back because it's a loan. It is not OSHO free. All right? It is a loan. Right? It is a loan. Number 1 way to pay it back is through the loan itself. Like I explained earlier, we disbursed $50,000 to you. The first year, you pay $25,000 to your school. The remaining $25,000, you can be paying the loan back. The minimum interest repayments per month is $200, so the maximum is $500. For that particular fund, you can be using it to offset the loan. Okay. Secondly, another way you can pay it back is as a student, you can actually get a blue collar job where you can actually earn up to $1,000 to $2,000. In fact, $3,000 per month. And number 3, where you can pay it back is if you have a skill that you can actually monetize. Monetizing a skill, and this is what all our candidates, I've not seen any candidate that come and be like, oh, I'm struggling financially. None of them is struggling financially because they have the funding, they have the capacity of upskilling and the capacity of actually getting remote jobs. And they're making it over there. So it all depends on how you structure yourself, how you plan yourself. And one thing about our funding is the fact that you have 10 years in terms of repayment. That's why we mandate candidates to go for courses that are commercially relevant. Because at that point in time, you are going to be assessing jobs that will give you or earn you a lot of money. Okay? So that is that about that. Let's move on. Our funding, let's talk about our $100. I think I've already spoken about that. But let me just move on due to time. This is supposed to be a 1-hour conversation. So due to time, so if you want to know more about our funding, Joy, please drop your number and the numbers of other representatives in the chat so you guys can reach out to them if you want to start your process. Now, one of the mistakes most people do is that they think there is time. The truth is that there's no time, right? There's practically no time. Policy is changing on a consistent basis. Policy is what? Changing on a consistent basis. It is those that start now that are going to reap from what is currently happening. Now, look at the US. Look at the US, for example. The US, before Donald Trump came into power, right, everything was going smoothly. So when he came into power, things just went upside down. People that have traveled right? People that have traveled before Trump came into power, they have great luck. And we have several candidates of ours that are currently in Canada, in the US. All right. Now, for you that wants to travel to Canada, Canada is not disputing, is not denying anybody on the basis of they just want to deny you. They're only denying you if you have a weak story. If you have a poor structured story, they will only deny you on that basis. But if you have a good and strong story, you will be approved. You will be approved. And that is why we are having this session today. Now, let's look at course, relevance, and career trajectory. But before, let's look at this one. Course, relevance, career trajectory. Right? I will answer your questions. I have just 5 minutes to be done. Then I will go into your questions. There's a lot actually to be done. Actually, I don't think 5 minutes is even enough for me, actually. So, officers assess for your course relevance and career trajectory. Officers assess logical progression. So they ask, does this program deepen existing expertise? What does this mean? It means that, does this your program actually align with what we want in Canada? All right? Does it align with what we want in Canada? Or does it actually relate to what you as an individual want to do based on your track record or your stories or your career journey? Okay? So let me put that in. Let me put that in ASAP. So, does this program deepen existing expertise? So, the expertise you have, your current skill, the program you want to go study, does it enhance it? There's a guy from India that came to Canada to study. He started as a business, a very good business. So he came to Canada to study. So once he was done studying, he came to study something related to business, right? Then he traveled back to India. So when you can drop your questions, when I'm done, I'm going to answer your questions one after the other. So kindly drop your question in the comment section. So when he traveled back to India, 2 years later, he said he wants to apply for another course. This was someone that has already gotten to travel and studied and came back to India. So he did it again, but this time he was going for a course that doesn't tally or relate to what he came to study initially and what he currently does, and he was denied. So understand that you must deepen existing expertise. It must be something related, and that is what we can actually help you do. We will look at your story, we analyze your story, look at what you studied in your first degree, and look at the course that is suitable for you. Then also look at your work history. Look at your work history and see if it is relevant to what Canada wants. Then we tweak it. It's all about packaging. One thing you need to understand, and nobody will tell you, is this. If you come to Canada, if you want to do your study permit and you tell Canada the whole truth and nothing but the truth, you'll be denied. Everything about immigration is all about strategy. It's all about packaging. Package yourself as someone that is successful. For those that don't have a LinkedIn account or a LinkedIn profile, you need to go open a LinkedIn profile. Open a LinkedIn profile, because you think that they are not checking you out on those platforms. They are also checking you out on those platforms. Does the story align? You must not come out totally and tell them, oh, this is the total truth. You must be able to tell a lie in a strategic way that doesn't seem like it's a lie. It's all about packaging. Package yourself so that it basically means putting your best foot forward. Okay? Putting your best foot forward. So, let's talk about this career regression, because one thing about most people is that you see someone that has a BSc, okay, someone that has a BSc, and the person wants to go to diploma in Canada, or the person wants to go to a college in Canada. That is practically, for them, they feel like it is regression. So let's say, for example, a senior HR manager is applying for just for a basic 2-year diploma in business administration, That is basically downgrading. You're practically downgrading yourself. So Canada wants to see that you are not downgrading, you are progressing. So you must be going for a progression. So when we look at your CV, we analyze your CV when you get to the study permit part, and look at what is the relevant course we need to use or put or strategy we need to develop to package you effectively, so that they see that this person has a growth progression, not a regression. You need to take note of that. Now, let's see a senior HR manager and is applying for a master's in organizational leadership. This person shows that is advanced because you are a senior HR manager and you are applying for a master's in organizational leadership. Now, it shows that you are specializing, specializing and you are advancing. So one thing you need to understand is that your program must demonstrate advancement, meaning that you are advancing. Your program must demonstrate specialization. Your program must demonstrate market relevance. Your program must also demonstrate salary growth potential, meaning that you will earn ×2 of what you currently earn. Okay? So it must answer this question. And why this program at this stage of your life is important. Why is it important? It's not about strategy. All about what? Strategy. Right? So let's move on. Let's look at the Canada labor market structure. But before I move on to Canada labor market structure, let me just talk a little about what I just explained. Course relevance and career trajectory. It's all about career growth. They want to see that you are advancing, you are not regressing. They see that you are regressing is a major refusal or a major reason for refusal. Okay? Now they must see that you are advancing. Okay? And your program must demonstrate, like I said earlier, advancement, specialization, market relevance, and of course, there's a potential the salary we grow. Right? And you also need to show why this program is important at this stage of your life. Now let's talk about Canada's labor market structure. What does this mean? What does this mean? Canada immigration system is labor-driven. That's just the thing. It is labor-driven. Because you are not coming, because the thing is that there's a lot of jobs in Canada, and a lot of people have not been able to fill some of these roles. So their system is labor-driven. They are looking for people that can actually work in key aspects, right? In key aspects. Number one, they're looking for healthcare professionals. Okay? They're looking for what? Healthcare professionals. And remember, I spoke about STEM courses. So they're looking for what? Healthcare professionals. They're looking for engineers. They're looking for IT professionals. Okay? They're looking for skilled traders. They're looking for construction workers. They're looking for early childhood educators, transport operators. But the key things we are going to be focusing here are healthcare professionals, engineers, IT professionals, construction workers. We're going to be looking at that more realistically. So students in this field align with the national workforce gap. If you are going for, let me just put this down. Yeah. Let me put them down so that you know what you are going for. IT relates to a lot of things. IT relates to a lot of things. IT professionals can be anything under IT, anything under technology. All right. So you must understand that professional programs like Masters in Project Management, Business Analytics, Data Analytics, name it. These are courses, cybersecurity, or what we talk about healthcare information system. What about health? There's a lot of courses under healthcare. When we look at your story, we like to recommend courses that aligns with your career progression. Okay, we look into that as well. Now, the reason for this is because when you are going for this particular course, it gives you an eligibility for a PGW, which is what we call postgraduate work permit. Okay, PGWP, postgraduate work permit, which means that you can work in Canada once you are done studying. Okay, so it gives you possession work permits, allows you to study and work in what? To work in Canada once you are done studying. And it also helps you when you are now applying for your PR. Because when you are done studying, the thing you want to do is that you apply for your PR. And having a Canadian education, a Canadian work job experience, meaning that you have worked in Canada as a student and you also study in Canada, gives you an upper hand to actually, get your PR, okay? Because the Canada Express entry looks at age, look at education, it looks at language, it looks at Canadian experience, and also looks at spouse factor. For age, most people that will say like, oh, I'm going to do it next 3 years, I'm going to do it 3 years. Just think that your age is going, because the more you get older, the more your chances reduces. Particularly when you are applying for a PR, because if you are more younger, it gives you a more bigger score in your PR. So if you are here today and you know that time is not on your side, now is the best time to apply so you can quickly secure your PR. Education, you study in Canada, it gives you additional points, right? Language, because what we call CL, I don't want to dive deep into that because of time. Okay, language. Then Canadian experience. As a student, you are also working in Canada. There's spouse factor. If your spouse is in Canada or you are bringing your spouse along with you, or after when you are studying, you bring your spouse along with you to the spousal open work permit. It also prove or give you more clout when it comes to getting your PR once you are done studying. It's much more easier to get your PR when you are in Canada than when you are in Nigeria, you are applying for just PR. Okay, it's much more easier to get your PR in Canada than outside Canada. Okay, now what is the reality of most Nigerians? Many applicants are desperate. You shouldn't be desperate. You must. The thing about most people that are desperate is that they make mistake. They make mistake. That's why we advise people to start early. All right, start early so you don't rush yourself. We've seen cases where people be like, they want to submit the application. You see someone gingering you that, oh, I want to submit it tomorrow, I want to submit it next tomorrow. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to give yourself time. You don't have to be desperate, because desperate means that mistakes can be made. So if you want to start, say you want to resume in fall, which is around September, October of this year, now is the best time to start. If you want to make sure immigration policy doesn't affect you, now is the best time to start. Okay? So what does people do? People are desperate, and desperation creates inconsistent narratives, meaning that your story does not align. You overstate things. You provide documents that are not real. There's this panic mode. And one thing about desperation, you apply at a time where Canada is already relaxing and be like, oh, we don't want to collect any more application anymore. They just start giving you denial. You see people that are, okay, your school is resuming next month, and now you are applying or submitting your application, or you're not even ready for your application to be submitted. See, you need to apply, submit your application. Canada will consider you more than when you are applying and submitting your application in rush hour. So it's best to start your process on time. Okay? It's best to start your process on time. All right? Now, this is where I'm going to close. The thing is this, right? Early planning works better. Proper documentation works for you better. Logical program selection works for you better. Financial transparency works for you better. Strong statement of purpose, clean history works for you better. See, the people who treat studying in Canada as a strategy become successful over people that treat it as an escape plan. All right? So you must treat it as a strategy, not a escape word. not a escape plan. I'm going to answer your questions, but let me just say this. Let me leave you with something very honest. I have seen two types of applicants, like I said before. The first type wants Canada, and the second type just prepares for Canada, which is, I believe, that is what the majority of us are here for. And tonight, you have heard about study permits. You have heard about proof of funds. I would have loved to dive deep into proof of funds, but then I'm going to see that in your questions. Right? You've also heard about work permit and PR. Now, most Nigerian refusers are not because people are not intelligent. They are because people are rushing. I said it before. They copy templates, they deposit money last minute, they shoot random programs, and they apply emotionally. And they say Canada rejects them. No. The system actually rejects a weak structure. So let me now explain another important point. Right now, globally, the competition for quality education and structural immigration is increasing, meaning that the immigration process for quality people is increasing and the process is becoming tightening. They're looking for quality people. More countries are tightening their policies. More scrutiny is coming. Financial requirement is rising. Document standard is becoming increasing or is becoming stricter. So the window now is only open for those that are actually available to proceed. Okay, if you are going to make your move now, you need to make it strategically. So you need to ask yourself, does my course align with my career progression? Do I understand how express entry story works? Do I know how my age affects my long-term pathway? Have I structured my finances properly? Is my proof of funds clean and defensible? And that is where we come in career leap. Or are you just hoping that everything will just work fine? Because hope is not a strategy, but structure is a strategy. So in the next 10 to 15 years, employers will compete globally. So where are you going to be at that point in time? And one thing about degrees is that degrees that are internationally recognized will create more mobility, meaning that mobility will create more leverage. Okay? Leverage will also create wealth. And one thing about the Canadian educational system is that the certification gives you options. I call them optionality, right? It means that when you combine Canadian education, you combine Canadian work experience, strong language proficiency, and a good field, you are on your way to becoming a global citizen. You are on your way from being locally competitive to globally competitive, right? And when you become globally competitive, your earning ceiling changes, okay? Your earning ceiling changes. So today, I want to encourage you to start your process and see what, because at the end of the day, it's an investment. So let's dive into some of the questions that some of you are asking. I'm going to take them one after the please, I need explanation on business registration. So for this business registration, like I said before, for Canada, you need to show, there are two things involved, right? You are showing, one, you're showing economic ties. You're also showing family ties. Economic ties is your work, where you currently work, and economic ties is your business. So either in your work or your business, you are showing evidences to back that up. And that also shows financials, meaning that this is where you make your money when it comes to your proof of funds. Okay, so you must show evidences, documents to back up that you have a business that you're going to come back to when you're done studying. Then someone is asking, can I use my sister's company account for proof of funds? No, you can't use your sister's account for proof of funds, because you can't know which one is profit and which one is because besides, even your sister, why will you be using your sister's account? So your sister can come in as a sponsor. Okay, your sister can come in as a sponsor, but she's not still going to use our business account. She's going to use our account. Now, your sister's age also matters as well. If your sister is less than 30 years old, she can't be your sponsor because she's too small to sponsor you. What is the logical explanation you want to give that your sister is able to raise a certain amount to fund your studies? And you must give reasons on why your sister is sponsoring you. Now, if I know your story in depth, we'll be able to craft out something for you. Now, Erin is asking, my question is, please, what is the success rate of Canada visa application? Canada visa application, you have, I won't give it a figure or a number, but you have the opportunity to control the narrative. Unlike the US, where you go and you see the visa officer and you speak. For Canada, you have the opportunity to explain and craft the narrative. You explain to them and give it, so you have a higher chance than when you are speaking. Okay, most of our candidates that have actually succeeded is because of they do less talking, they just do more of proving. All right, and that is what Canada wants to see. Show them what they want to see, not what you think they want to see. So Becca is saying, please say something about the dependent and all it entails. Now, one thing you need to understand about Canada is this: they want you to come back once you are done studying. In as much as they want you to come back once you are done studying, they still need you as an immigrant. But then the policy is that you must confidently and explicitly state that you are going to come back. And one of the things you need to show as your own ties is your family, okay, which is what we call the family ties. Okay, now I'm not saying that you can't take your family along with you, but if you're taking your family along with you, you must have other things that is meant to tie you back home. And for that, we can help you come up and craft good stories to back that up. But then it is more expensive to now take your family along with you, right? It is more expensive to take your family along with you. Now, if you have, say, 100% chance of being accepted to Canada, if you are going alone, right? Now, if you're not taking your family along with you, that 100% reduces to say 90 or 80. And if you are ready to take that step, why not? There are people that can actually secure their visa with their family and all that stuff. But there are also people that were denied for the fact that they are carrying their family and they were not able to effectively communicate why they are bringing their spouse or their dependents along with them. Bello is asking, what are the chances of using a company's account for proof of funds? Like I said, you can't use a company account for proof of funds because number one, you won't know which one you are paying for is profit, which one is gain, and all those stuff. So use your own account. Then you can use company as a backup, right? Have your own account, use company as a backup to actually show that you have cash flow coming in from your company. So don't just use your company account. So Godson is asking, please, do you still support schools in UK or Scotland? Yes, we still support schools in UK or Scotland. However, our funding for those schools is off for this season. Right? If you want to start the process, that means you need to gain admission now, so that once our funding is open for UK and Scotland, we immediately just apply for your funding. But for Canada, our funding is always open. Do you help with study application? Definitely, yes, we do that. We look at your story, we look at everything you are involved in, and then craft a story for you. And in fact, our session is very transparent. You will be live in the session where we are applying for you. In fact, you will be the one submitting your password, your every detail, just the way we are in this session. We have the same session with you where we open your IRCC account and we apply for you. You will see your stories. You will be part of when we are discussing your story, how your story will go, the documents we are going to help you work on, documents you should provide, and everything will go. In fact, after that session, you can even do it yourself if you want to. But then we can help you do all that stuff to make it much more easier. All right, we are big on transparency when it comes to this stage. Do you support schools in Australia? Yes, we support schools in Australia and New Zealand. But however, if you are looking for funding for this school, our funding, for Australia and New Zealand, or schools in Europe, our funding for this session or this season is closed, right? Then Eunice is asking, also, I didn't really understand the area of your loan interest. Does loan interest same thing as loan repayment? Yes, it is the same thing as loan repayment. You are paying the interest on the loan and you have 10 years window to pay it back, which of course offers flexibility. Now, because it's under that flexibility, you can easily pay it back. And because you are going for a course that is commercially relevant, right? you can easily pay back that particular funding, okay? Because you earn more over there. You're paying in dollars, not in naira or your currency, all right? So someone said, I visited your office and the ones in most, I visited your offices and the one at Imo State only. I'm not understanding, not as it was a phone as same. I'm not understanding, but I think I get what you say. Now, our offices is in, number one is in Lagos, okay? Our Owerri office is not active at the moment because Owerri clients don't come to our office in Owerri. We hardly get clients in our offices, in our office in Owerri. So if you want to come to our office, come to our Lekki office, okay? Come to our Lekki office. And then reach out to any of our representatives on, I believe Joy has sent the number in the comment section. So reach out to any of our representatives if you want to. In fact, we have a representative and staff in Owerri. We have in Port Harcourt. We have in Ibadan. We have in Abuja. We have in Benin. We have representatives all over everywhere. So if you want to see us, come to our office and then you see us personally. In fact, most of our clients that have actually traveled, we have not even seen some of them in real time, right? Most of them were in Abuja. All their process went seamlessly. Now, for you to know us, come to our office. We have days we receive visitors. So just simply reach out to Joy, and Joy is going to get you to know when to come and all that stuff. Or reach out to our representative. Someone is asking, for someone that studied linguistics first degree, what is the way forward? Now the question will now be, what do you currently do as your career path? Are you in the tech field? Are you in the business field? Now what we can now do in this aspect, we are going to use your work history to apply for you, okay? Because career progression can change, but then your work history is what will now do the talking, and you must effectively explain it in your statement of intent when applying to Canada about this, why you have chosen a particular course. Now, linguistic, you can go for several courses, like you can go for project management, you can go for business analytics, but then you must explain why you are tilting or why you are changing. Everything is about explanation. Do you have an ebook on this analysis, please? Well, we don't have an ebook for that yet. Then secondly, if it's my parent that is sponsoring me, which proof of fund should I use? If your parents is sponsoring you, you should use your parents' proof of funds. Okay, use your parents' proof of funds. The Manu is asking, to boost credibility, are you saying we should have personal funds aside from the loan you are giving us? Yes, like I said, you shouldn't depend entirely on the loan. Okay, you shouldn't depend entirely on the loan, because to the visa officer, that is red flag. You need to have buffers. Okay, imagine, let's say an emergency comes up. Will you be dependent on the loan? Now, one thing about our loan is the fact that even if we give you $50,000 the first year, $25,000 go for the tuition fee for that first year. Now the remaining $25,000 belongs to you. Like I explained when I was talking about the 3 ways you can pay back the funding, I mentioned that you can use the loan itself to pay back the loan. All right. The maximum, like I said, is $500. The minimum is $200. Right. And as a student, can also get a job. Right. I explained that earlier. Right. So the purpose of you showing your fund is to boost credibility. Is to also show that, yes, because everything is not about packaging. You shouldn't show desperado. You shouldn't show that, oh, you are coming, you are someone in need. You are someone that is going to strain their system. Don't show that. It will give you leverage if you don't show that. Number 2, I was told they have to pay some fees, about $200 before anything. You see, if this visa is nice, I don't want to answer that question. You are actually paying for our service. I believe you are a business owner. Definitely, if you are rendering service to anyone, you should actually pay for that service. And when it comes to visa denial, like I said, we are making sure everything works out for you. If you're already having the mindset of getting denied, then you're going to be denied. The first thing you need to have is mindset orientation. Mindset orientation. You need to change your mind from negativity to positivity, no matter what the case may be. Negative, because it also adds up to what, at the end of the day, adds to your success in this entire process. Okay? Right now, for our process, all the things we have done for you, if you want to see our refund policy, kindly go to our website. It is always there. Number 3, for people without salary or business account, what is our faith? That is where we need to look at your story. You can't say you don't have a business or you don't have anything. If someone is going to be sponsoring you, then that person will come. If you say you don't have a business or you don't have a salary, don't worry. We have something we can do for you. Like I said, it's all about packaging. Okay, some of our clients who have worked for, especially the ones that are newly graduate, they don't have good working experience. We package them. I don't want to dive into that. Just to check for our representative, they will explain deeper for that for you. Then Solomon is asking, for someone who studied medical laboratory science on BSc, what course suggestion would person go for a master's program for 2 years in Canada? You can go for any health-related course. Any health-related course or any technology-related course, right? You can go for any health-related course or any tech-related course. Then someone is asking, please explain proof of funds. Do you provide proof of funds? How does it work? Yes, we provide proof of funds. I don't want to explain deeper into this, but reach out to our representative. We have a partner for proof of funds, right? We have a partner for proof of funds, and their proof of funds is not something where you get to spend millions. It is very affordable. It's just the entire process. I know someone will answer this question. The entire process from studying, from getting admission, getting your loan approved, your visa application, everything is around 3 to 4 million. That is everything, both including your POF. Everything falls around 4 million. Okay, everything falls around 4 million. In fact, even less than 4 million. So just as the representative will do the analysis for you, so you understand how much you are investing. So in a situation where after paying the 3,000 and the admission doesn't work out, what is the refund? Kindly check on our website. You're going to see our refund policy. Or reach out to our representative. They will send you the link to our refund policy. Can a BSc in entrepreneurship and business management fit into STEM program in masters? Yes, you can. Can we use the current dollar rate now for any of our commitment deposits? We no longer collect USD, right? Reach out to our representative. For those outside Nigeria, we collect USD. For those in Nigeria, we no longer collect USD, right? So reach out to our representative and we'll tell you what to do. What university does Career support and what courses, please? We support a lot of universities in Canada, right? But then we only focus on STEM-related courses, okay? Science, tech, engineering, mathematics. So you can Google and search what are STEM-related courses. So reach out to our representative and they're going to give you the list of courses. But then before I give you the list of courses, we need to look at your story, understand what you do, and then know what STEM course you should fit in. The Famous is answering, how do we believe this isn't it? Well, Famous, one thing I always tell clients is if you're already assuming this is a scam or this is fake, then you are not supposed to be in this meeting, right? The thing you're supposed to do is to do your due diligence. Do your due diligence, come to our office, reach out to our representative. We're not nothing to our, check our website, check everywhere. But then if you're already assuming this and this, then when you start the process, you will see that it is not what you think. When you finish the process, you see that it is not what you think. The goal is making your findings, come to our office, and we are not hiding anyway. So that is just it. If you want to know we're not scam, go and check our story and come to our office, then we'll discuss with you. Please share the contact person with Port Harcourt. Reach out to our representative, like I said. You have days when you receive visitors. Questions. See, the thing is this, right? Yes, we have days we receive visitors. Reach out to our representative and they will tell you the days you have to book an appointment to see us. Come to our office. Well, we can't just attend to you. We have other things we do. We have days we receive visitors. Can someone who is currently in Canada still apply or they are exempted? If you are currently in Canada, we need to know what is your status. What kind of status are you currently, in Canada? Are you as a visitor? If you are going there, that means you need to now change status. But then you must be in your own country. Yeah. So pure of the 6-month bank statement, are we going to renew the 2.5% every month for the next 6 months? No, it's a one-off 2.5%. How much proof of funds we need to have in our account as a backup? It depends on how much you are approved of. It also depends on your story, okay? It all depends. Since we are basically using the loan for the study, how do we structure or defend proof of funds? That is where your story comes in, okay? This is where your story comes in. I can't say everything in this meeting. I can't give you everything in this meeting. Your story is what explains your intent. It's what explaining where your funding is coming from, how you made your money, there's a table for it where you explain in detail. And your statement of intent, you explain all that. Your statement of intent basically gives an overview or an understanding or a checklist of where the visa officer should point to when reviewing your case. So, for example, if they are reading your statement of intent and they see that you are married, they need to trace or look at documents that shows, okay, you say you are married. If you say you have a business, you need to show that those documents are there. If you say this, if you say that, your statement of intent communicates that. And that is where, like I said, how do you structure or defend proof of funds? That is what I just explained to you now. So it all depends on your story. So any PhD opportunity, admission, scholarship, no, Akim Buloma, sorry if I spoil your name. So do you mean 2.5 is for you? Yes, that's what I meant. So we have a partner for that. Now for those that are saying, oh, is this real or whatever, please, how do I tell you? Come to our office. That is the thing I will tell you to do. Come to our office. And for those that want to get started, now is the best time to start. Now is the best time to start. Because one thing I've seen over time is the fact that most people, when they keep procrastinating, time keeps going. There's a particular client that came to our office some time ago, and according to her, she has been following us. And a friend of hers has already started applying when she was making inquiry. That her friend is already in the US as we speak. Her friend is already in the US as we speak. But then she started this, and all this issue of US thing started coming up because of she started this. Now you need to understand that timing is very important as regards to age. Okay, you're not getting younger. 10 years ago, Buhari came into power. That's he served his time, 8 years, he was done. Now, how old will you be if Tinubu finishes his tenure? Right? How old will you be by then? So time is not of the essence. I was speaking to a colleague today. I was like, wow, today is 14th already. We did the diet was Sunday, and tomorrow is Sunday again. You see, time is of the essence. Now, one thing I need to advise you to also do is to understand that this is an investment. Don't see it as something. That's why I mentioned earlier, if you can't spend, don't proceed. If you can't spend, don't proceed. If you don't have the money for it, don't proceed. If you know your future, your career is not to study, or you want to stay in Nigeria, you want to be in Africa, don't proceed. But if you believe that this is what you want to do and you have the capacity to do it, then proceed. If your mind is telling you not to, then probably you should follow your instinct. But one thing I will tell you is this. In the next 5 years, you may probably come back and be like, probably if I have done this now, maybe I'll be in the US, maybe I'll be in Canada, right? Maybe I will be this, maybe I will be that. And you don't want to be doing a dime, all right? It all boils down to your decision. I always say this, that God is your constant in your equation for success, but you are the variable. So no matter how you cast and bind, no matter how you pray, if you don't make that action, if you don't take that action, there's a higher chance that that thing God has destined for you won't actualize because you are not making that move. Most of our candidates that are currently in Canada, they never believe. In fact, there's a particular candidate of ours that when she was doing her process, the thing she always said is that, I pray this will work, I pray this will work. In fact, there's another candidate that's currently in the US. He came on our, he commented something on our post on Instagram, and he said that he wished to become successful as well in his process. Fast forward to 6 months later, he found himself in the US, and he commented again, thank God has done it for me. This is that audacious. One thing about progression or career progression is about being audacious. It's about starting a process and finishing it. It's about, and we are career lead. All our clients must get to the end of this process. You can't just start from
Your line is breaking. Your line is breaking.
Halfway. That's why we sure that on a going to
Sorry, we can't hear you. The line is seriously breaking. We can't hear you at all.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Kindly mute your mic. It's a glitch from his phone. Give us a minute. We'll fix it. Can you hear me, please?
All right. So we don't have an office in Port Harcourt. We had an event in Port Harcourt last year. So our office at the moment is in Lagos. You can send it or send someone to our Lagos office in Lekki.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Please, can you hear me?
Okay, I think I'm back now.
Okay,
Yeah,
welcome, sir.
we're with you.
Yes, I hear you.
All right, I think I'm back now. Thank you.
It's better now.
All right, awesome. So I think I was asking some questions. Okay, cool. So as I was saying, if you okay, I think we're good. So if you want to get started, now is the best time to actually start. So reach out to any of our representatives, and then they will explain to you. Like I said, this session is practically for study permits. Session. We actually have a separate session for the funding. I did not explain more about the funding, but then if you reach out to any of our representatives, they're going to give you an in-depth understanding about how our funding works. And then we have, on Monday, we have a session for just the funding, so that then we explain and give you in-depth understanding of how it works. For those that want to come to our office, simply reach out to our representative and book a session, book a meeting to meet with us in our office, right? And then if, yeah, so that is practically it. If you want to get started, time is of the essence. And I think that will be all from my end. Thank you so much for joining. And can't wait to see you. Due to time, this is already 9:41. Just relate your questions. Send a message to any of our representatives. They are very good in answering questions. Okay, they will answer your question perfectly. So due to time, we won't be able to take any more questions. Now the ball is now in your court. Are we going to be seeing you in Canada, or will you still be in Nigeria or Africa? Thank you so much, and have a great evening. And happy Valentine's Day. I hope you enjoy your day with your loved ones. Bye-bye.